topic for today. Content providers, in which I have a demo application for you. In that we will play with the contacts of the phone. We will create some contacts and we will delete some contacts from the phone using our application. So a content provider manages access to a central repository of data. What that means, let me explain this one also with this. Let's suppose this is your database. This is one common database for all of the other applications to get data from, that has been defined by the Android. And let's suppose this is your app, and this is your another app, this is your another app. Okay, so in that case, if first you have to know this SQLite database that you are creating is private, and only your application can access that database, no other application can access it. But if you want to have something like you want to fetch the data, if you want to fetch the data for different files and you want your data to be public, like contacts, you want your contacts to be public and can be accessed by other applications also in order to add some contacts or delete some contacts. So in that case, like you have 3 applications, there is a central repository for that. This is content provider. If it is clear to you, please reply on the chat. This is your content providers. So content provider, this organizes this central repository for the data. This is a common database for all of the applications to fetch data from. Okay, content providers are primarily intended to be used by the user by other applications which access the provider using a provider client object. So you need a client object for that, and the content provider is intended to be used by other applications. So you need to make the database your database public. An application accesses the data from a central provider with a content resolver object. So this is the class content resolver that I'm going to use to get the data from. Okay. Also, the content provider uses the path part of the content URI. Okay, you have to use a URI to get the path, and you asked about the URI previously. So in that case, you can relate. You need a path to get, and you can pass that into a content provider object. Okay, and also using a content provider needs permission in the manifest file. So in that case, if you want to fetch the contacts from the user phone, then you have to ask the user first that this application will fetch the contacts from your phone, and it can change or delete your contacts. Provide methods to insert, delete, update, query. So this content provider object will also provide the custom this automatic methods to insert and update and delete. Like in this SQLite database, what we had, we have this automated queries like for insertion, for update, for delete. We have these queries. We have the same queries with the content providers also. Okay, here is the application. As you can see, I have 2 edit text. First is the name and the second one is the number. Okay, and then I have view contacts, add contact, modify contact, and a delete contact button, and at the end I have a text view to display the contacts. And before running this application, I would like to demonstrate what we are doing in this one. So I have these contacts inbuilt in my Android phone. When I click on these contacts, I have these 3 contacts here, and I'm going to delete all of these. So just to show you that this application is working fine, and this is my application, content provider, the same application. If I click on view contacts button, I haven't received anything here. There's a black screen here. I have a text view here first. Now I have no record in the screen, no record in the data, so I'm not displaying anything here. I'm going to insert my name, that is Hisham, and this is the phone number. And when I click on add contact, Okay. Let me skip all of these breakpoints. It was debugging. So maybe I have inserted the record successfully. Okay. So what is happening here? I'm inserting the name, that is name and the phone number, and also the name with the hisham.dve@gmail.com. Okay, I'm also inserting the Gmail ID. Now I have inserted this contact. Let's go back to the phone again and let's see if it reflects it into the contacts also. And as you can see, the Hisham is there, and you can see the mobile and the call here. And if I add another contact here inside the content provider, like Anubhav, and the phone number is 123456, and when I click on done, let's go back to our application again and let's see if we can load the contacts that has been inserted from the contacts, the custom contacts, the automated contacts that has been given by Android. And as you can see, there is a name Anubhav and the phone number. So as you can see, there is a central provider. So the application that that Android were using, which is the name contacts, is this one, and our application name is something else. But we are accessing the same content provider to get the result from the that is the contacts, to get the contacts from the content provider. If it is clear to you about this demo application, please reply on the chat. And if the funda is clear to you that how everything is happening, please reply on the chat. The main thing is here that the content provider is same and we are accessing the same database. Anubhav says clear. That's very good. So let's okay, so these buttons are there. Modify contact. You can modify a contact if you want to, like if you want to modify Hisham with the number something else, you can modify and the number is updated. Click on view contacts and it also updates the name also. Okay, something is happened in this application. I'm sorry for that. Let me first explain this code to you. I'm closing all others and I have this native content provider. Okay, so let's first see this layout. This is the layout: name, phone number, view contacts, add contact, delete contact, and this is the text view. This is very simple. And inside this I have these buttons and I'm casting these buttons and I'm setting an on-click listener on each of the button. So for view I am setting an on-click listener, for add button I am setting an on-click listener, and for modify I am deleting. And for each of them I am displaying, I have a separate method to display all of this. To display contacts I have a separate method, and to add I have this create contact with the name and the phone number using this string, and for modify I have this name and phone, and this method is update contact. So let's see these methods one by one. So first is let me first show you the insert create contact, so it will be easy for you to understand. I am passing the name and the phone number, and for that first you have to first you have to know that this content provider is a type of database. It is a database. So we perform the query here, and the query is always returning a cursor type object that I have told you in the previous demo application of SQLite. So we get this content resolver. To work with the content provider, we need to get this. We have to use this get content resolver, and then we can pass the query. And inside this query, we have these classes: contacts, contact. So I have to use this class, and then I have to use this contacts class, and inside this I am passing this content URI. So this is kind of typical for, I guess, but you have to use this contact class. Well, this is not the complete class. Actually the complete class is this. So you have to pass this complete class in order to work, but I have imported this class before. So this is the complete class, android.provider dot contacts contact dot contact. Then you need the content URI from that class. Then you will get the result in a cursor, and you can get the count of the cursor, the number of values. And if the count is greater than 0, then you can move this cursor and you can display the results. Okay, the display name, the column, and everything is happening here. To insert an operation, here I'm only getting the display name and the exist name. If the name exists before, if the name already exists in the database, what I will do, I will say that the name is already exist and change the name first to insert the query, and I will return back to the application. So to insert and for data manipulation, you need an array list, and the class that we used here is content provider operation type. So the array list with the generic type content provider operation is the standard to use to work with the contacts of a phone. I have this object OPS, and I'm first getting this size of this OPS. So that is raw contact insert index size. I will insert the contact at the position where what will be the size of this array list. That could be 1. So in that case, that could be 0. In that case, I will got the raw contact ID as 0, and I will work with the 0 throughout this operation. Okay, so I have this ops.add. So in that I have to use the content provider operation. That is kind of the format that Android uses. So in that case, you have to use this new insert query, and first you need a raw contact. In that you can pass with value method this account type and the account name, and then you can build it. Then again you need to add another thing. Just let me set this code. Then again you need ops.add. Again I'm passing the same new insert, and this time I'm using this data.content URI. And let me try to explain what is happening with this raw contacts and the data contacts, and that is the purpose here. Just let me show you. Let's suppose you have a contact that is the name. Name is Anubhav. I'm sorry, what happened? Okay, name is Anubhav and the number is 12345. So this is a raw contact. Okay, then you remember, then you find out that I also have to insert the email ID inside this contact. So what you will do, you will need data. Instead of the raw contact, you need a data type here. And then if you want to insert more fields inside this raw contact, you can define these here again, like phone number, home, and work number, email ID, and anything by using this data. And everything after that will be data. We'll be using with the data. So in the first you need a raw contact, and then after you can insert everything by using this data. Okay, and if you need to add a new contact, then you need a raw contact ID. If it is clear to you, Anubhav, please reply on the chat. For a new record, you need a raw contact URI, and for the updations in that record, you need the data content URI. Okay, Anubhav says it is clear. That's okay. So I'm using the data.content URI for the additional operations, and for the new operation I'm using this raw contact. So I have to use this with value back reference. That means the back reference is this raw content URI. I'm adding data inside this. Okay, you have to use the MIME type, that is content item type, that is kind of very standard here. That is structured name.content item type. So here I am using this different contents to insert the data inside the contacts, and there is the value. I'm inserting something inside the display name, and that is the name field that I got from here. From where? Okay, from the contact method. Okay, and then if you want to insert the number, you have this phone.number class and you can insert the number. This is simply the content is on this the content values here I'm using here. This is the automated content values we are using in Android here. And if you want to add this email, you can use this contact.common-data-email, and that you can pass the data with the name. So this is kind of a little complex, I know, but you have to use these in order to work with the content providers of the content of the contacts especially. So what we have to do after adding this data one by one, what we are doing, we are getting the content resolver and we are simply applying a batch, and I have to pass the authority and the array list that have been created using the generic type content provider operation. So you are one by one adding the result in this operations.add, and you are adding the additional fields by using this value back reference, also the data.raw contact, this contact ID, this content URI, sorry. Okay. Okay, so we will continue with other like update contact. If you want to update your contact, you have to pass the name and the phone, and you have the content resolver. I am getting this content resolver here. You can get this here in order to minimize your code, or you can simply use content resolver object straightforward. So in order to update, what you need a where clause, and where in this where clause I am going to find where contact.data.display name is equal to, and this question mark will be replaced by this name when we pass the query. Okay, so content provider operation, and this operation is simple, straightforward. Content provider operation, new update query you will call context data.content URI, and in this you need with selection, and with this selection you have to pass the where and the parameters. So when you pass this here, what will happen, the query will become like this. The name is suppose Anubhav, the display name is equal to Anubhav because I'm getting the name from this here. Okay, this will the where clause that will become, and then you will build this with phone and number because you are changing the number only, and then I'm using this CR here which I have defined. Well, I don't need this. If I can use the get content resolver here also. Okay, so that is just to minimize your code. Just this get content resolver dot apply batch, and you need an authority and operation. This is a simple, straightforward standard method that you have to use in order to insert something, update something into your contacts. Same is with the delete. You have to pass a where clause where display name is equal to name, and you are going to use the new delete method. Okay, and then you can apply the batch using the authority and ops. Okay, now the more complex and okay, this getting the query from the this content resolvers, this content provider, sorry. So this is the content resolver. So this is the class that provides you access to the this content provider, this content resolver class. So you know that a cursor is required to store the result from the database query that I have written here, and the query is simply this the query is simply this: get the contacts from the content resolver and store them all into a cursor. And when I get all the results into a cursor, I can get the count. If the count is greater than 1, that means greater than 0, that means I have something inside my contacts. So I'm using this while loop with cursor.move next, and the same logic will apply here. Cursor will point to a row and will move to next one by one, and you can get the data from this cursor by using cursor.get column index. You can pass the column ID here, that is contact.contact ID, and then you need an ID. You need to get the ID So you can get the ID by using the get string and the cursor index that you have received, and then the cursor, the name you can get simply this line is one line, and I have separated the line before because you can so that you can understand the code what is happening. So first you need a display name. You can get the index from the display name, and from this index you can get the string, and you can save that string into a name. So I have what I have done, I have I broke this code into parts so that you can get while debugging you can get what you are getting. You can see what you are getting. So I'm getting the first column ID, then I'm getting the cursor index, and then on this cursor index I'm getting the string, that is the ID. If you want to count how many rows are there inside the numbers field, like if he has 2 or 4 phone numbers, different phone numbers, so that you can use this another query with the content URI using this contact.has phone number. So it will give you the number of count, that is the number of phone numbers that you have inserted into the contacts. If it is greater than 1, then you need another cursor, and by using this cursor I am passing this the phone content URI and the common data kind, that is the contact ID, and where the contact ID is equal to the ID that I have fetched from this method here. So ID should be the same, and you can pass this content resolver, that is phone cursor, and again for the phone cursor you will get this you use this move.next method, and you display the contacts onto your device. Is it clear to you, or a little bit complex, or you didn't even understand it at all? Please reply on the chat. Let me explain this with using this demo 34345, and let me delete this one. Let's go back to the contacts. I have this Anubhav here, okay, and I'm going to insert some more fields inside it. Okay, I'm going to edit this contact. Let's say you have a home, the phone you already, it is sure you have a home. You have a home number and you have a mobile number. Okay, this is your mobile number, and also you have a work number, there is this, and also you have other numbers. Now you have 4 numbers. Okay, now you have 4 numbers. Now let's go back to our application and let's see how many numbers it is showing to me. It is showing a different name with the different numbers. So you have 4 different numbers, and I'm using this second cursor, phone cursor I'm using to get the different numbers from the same name. Okay, because the ID is the same with the contact ID, and I'm using the content ID, and I'm moving this phone cursor in order to get the other numbers that you have stored in your application. You can use a simple cursor, but in order to get the different phone numbers attached with the same contact ID, you have to use another cursor with the same ID. So if I have 50 contacts and 50 contacts have multiple phone numbers, so I can fetch all of these by using 2 cursors.